This is setting things up. Yep, outline.
You got it done?
Yep. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Trestleboard Talks / Constitutional Corner. We're going to deviate from the Constitutional Corner today, but before we get started, we'll do our typical introductions. Let me do this first. Our disclaimer that our views are our views alone. They have nothing to do with our Grand Lodges and the officers inculcated with our Grand Lodges. Our views are just views of brothers that just have an opinion. Again, no slight to anybody. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Trey, then he to Aaron to introduce themselves if you're unfamiliar with how we do business, and we'll go from there. If you got questions, comments, put them in the chat. I'm monitoring the chat.
Hey, good afternoon, brothers and listeners out there. Brother Trey here. Looking forward to today's discussion. It's going to be good. I know we've been away for a little bit, but I think today's going to be pretty good.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, as I was told, and other listeners around the world. Happy to be back. Hopefully we can give you something that's interesting. At least makes you form new questions and new ideas.
That's funny you said sisters. I didn't know that we had sisters that actually tuned in now. Is that the case?
You know, I not only got notified by my chapter that they have listened, and are looking forward to more, but that they have a lot to say.
When are we getting them in? Right, invite them.
I just sent the link.
Yeah, sisters, if you are on here, you're listening, you are invited to be a part of the discussion and actually partake in the discussion. I think that's an interesting parallel, something that we didn't take into consideration. Not that we did it intentionally, but I think it'll give some credence to the channel. So be a part of the show. Come on, you're invited.
I received my second degree in the OAS about a week ago.
Okay.
It's very interesting. Is everybody in the OAS on this podcast?
I was. I don't do it anymore.
But you received the degrees, right?
Yeah, I still have my wrestling.
Trey, did you go through the OAS degrees?
No. Negative. No.
So it's interesting. To be honest with you, I told them when I first came in the order, they were like, "You got to join the OAS." I was like, "I'll never do it." I was like, "You guys have access to me. If you need something, if I can be helpful, just call me. I'll show up." Right. As I was getting ready to go into the East, I redid our bylaws in our lodge. And one of the things that is true about our lodge, what is supposed to be true, is if you're in a station, then you're supposed to be in the OAS, right? And
so that's how your bylaws are written?
That's how our bylaws are. And not just that, you know, our lodge had a rift with its chapter. And I want to be clear, its chapter.
Yeah.
Right? These are adoptions by the lodge. These are appendages of the lodge. Right? Yeah. And we weren't talking to them, doing anything with them, whatever. I left it in the bylaws. We didn't change it. And when I went in the East, I honored the bylaws and I joined. I also don't think that the worshipful master should not be a member of his chapter. That's nonsense. Either that or he shouldn't have to be at all. And we can get into that later. But I thought it was all nonsense. And then I did the first degree. It was perfunctory. You know what I mean? Like it was just me sort of like going through it, whatever. And the second degree got put off a couple times. Brothers, let me tell you something. This second degree in the OES, if you're paying attention, men and women are made equal in the eyes of God, so it says.
Okay. I'll give a different parallel. I'm not going to even touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Do it. Don't let you fall in it. Don't do it. I'm trying to tell you, it's very interesting. And so these sisters have a lot to say about how Masonry is showing up for them. You know, how they get to show up inside Masonry, what it all looks like. So, you know, anyway,
It
I
gets
hope,
deeper.
I
It
hope
gets
that
deeper
you all-
when it gets deeper when you walk the labyrinth. And that may be, I think, what you're referring to. Different jurisdictions do it differently, but
Yep.
um, God bless them and sisters. You're truly invited to be part of the panel discussion and
Yeah.
speak your truth. I think that I didn't take that into consideration, but between the three of us, at least Aaron, you and myself specifically, reach out to your sisters and invite them on. We'll send them
Yeah.
a link and they could be part of the panel and speak their truth. I think that'll give us to our diverse audience, diversify our audience.
It
So,
absolutely does. Also, listen, there are non-Masonic people, people who are men and women who are neither Masons or in the OES,
mhm,
who I know because they've heard from me, have, logged on, at least checked it out.
mhm,
And they're curious. And we spoke, I think, last time we were on about this idea that you have people out there putting out a lot of misinformation about what Masonry is.
Oh
mhm.
yeah.
We have the opportunity, the three and four of us, to clean the slate. You know what I'm saying? Let's give people what's true.
Okay, yeah.
Whether it's going to invite them into our halls or not, let them at least walk away with, you know, good feeling about what's true.
Yeah. No, again, all on the table. All of
Yep.
us on the table because we get into some deep discussions. Like today, we're gonna kind of take a detour a little bit. And I know we haven't mentioned anything about the York Rite except for here and there, some snippets. And I know on the Signet of Truth side, just on that specific podcast, there's a lot of York Rite information. But today, our very own Trey just got knighted, a Sir Knight for Charles T. Garrett, Commander number 17. So now, again, let me be very clear as I say this. I am having this full discussion, not, you know, giving out any passwords or anything like that, but I'm having this full discussion as right in the Grand Commander for the Pacific Prince Hall Grand Commander, United Temple State of California. So I just want Trey to kind of talk about that experience because it is biblical in nature, and this kind of what it means to the rest of the masonry that you've seen so far.
Yeah. Man, I think it's hard. That's loaded. And it's hard to it's like, well, where do we start, right? Where do we start this thing at? But I will say that it's an absolutely beautiful degree, um, especially for those of us who are of Christian faith, and those of us who um, enjoy both the historic aspect of our stories, obviously from King Solomon's temple. But if you want to know a little bit more about that and some of the characters, and put yourselves in in their shoes and look at things from their lens, it was done very, very, very beautifully. Um, from the Order of the Red Cross to the Order of Malta, all the way to the Temple degree. Um, Really, really great stuff. There's some things that will forever be, you know, I'll forever remember it. And then, I'll say delivery matters, right? In anything that is done, how things and information is delivered, is really important. If in fact you want it to resonate, right? Um, a little bit of how it was going. We got to be a little bit of active observers, which gave it another level. And then it was full theatrics. So it was absolutely amazing to watch, amazing to be a part of, and the stories, um, make sense. Zerubbabel's journey makes sense. Um, yeah, I don't want to keep rambling.
I have a question. So I am a member of the York Rite, so I'm both in the Red House and the Purple House, but I am not a member of the Templars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said that this was especially beautiful for people who are in the Christian faith. I am not.
Hmm.
And so is it a requirement that one be a Christian or important that one be a Christian And so it's funny because I just in saying asking that question, I remember I have a brother who is a Muslim brother who
Mhm.
has not and will not join the Templars because he was under the impression that it somehow is an affront or at least causes a challenge
Yeah.
to his faith, the obligations as they're said and sworn. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I will. Just to be fair. So Trey
Yeah.
just went through it and he can tell you, but he is of the Christian faith. If you're not of the Christian faith, there are things just like the cross of Malta, right? It literally is an eight-pointed cross that is alluding to the eight beatitudes, right? The Sermons on the Mount. So that is the direct correlation to the Bible and the Christian faith. That's just one example.
Mhm.
So there could be that. But just what it does more than just forgetting the Christian faith for a second, it concludes the story, but it gives you information as far as the nice Kadash goes for the consistory. It does give you more information, and then you start to understand why that skull and crossbone is on their altar in your consistory, and who that is and where that came from. And Trey talked a little bit about Zerubbabel and the building of the second temple, but there was a council that met, and then
Hmm.
he had to approach King Darius, and then there was a discord there. So then, yes, it is Christian based. Will it conflict? No, because you still should be able to take your obligation. Then I can tell you as a writer and the Grand Commander still can take your obligation on the Quran, the Torah, or whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. But the story is, it's the birth, life, death, resurrection, and ascension of Jesus Christ. That is what the degree is driving some of the stories in the degree, but it also talks about the five different crusades from 1099 all the way up to 1310.
Mhm.
So, there's a lot going on. And then when the degree is acted all the way out, we took about, I would say about 4 or 5 hours, Trey, for
Oh
the,
man, it was like 6 hours altogether.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's like a full work day. Yeah.
And you guys
nope.
did this differently. There's something unique about how you Trey just did this degree that is very unique, very different from how we could do degrees in our
Oh yeah.
jurisdiction in the Blue House. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, are you referencing the Masons of California?
Yep.
Yeah. Shout out to them, by
Yeah.
the way. Shout out to
Yeah.
San Diego. Yeah. San Diego Consistory, San Diego Commandery number 25. Shout out to them.
Yeah, those guys are truly something special. Those guys are serious about their work, and they hold nothing back. I mean, from the way things are positioned in there to, the lighting to, the costumes and characters and whatnot. Like it was a play, and you watched a play about the story, and it was good. It was really good. It was great. Um,
And
yeah,
so
very very few
you guys are
books.
able to then do degree work directly with them because it sounds like you guys participated in there. You were brought into these degrees in their setting.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
they had a bunch of different, a couple, about 5 to 7 other commanderies who all participated as well. So it was a joint venture across the board. So that was pretty neat, being able to see things from other people's perspectives and what it is that they thought it was, or what they thought about the degree work. And yeah, it was really interesting, and again, an opportunity that I think few of us have the opportunity to do. But then when we're there to really reflect on what it is that's actually happening, um, not just from a Masonic a commandery standpoint, but from a Masonic standpoint, with being able to break bread, commune, and have fellowship with brothers from all walks of life. So yeah,
I'm not.
that added another layer of depth to it for sure.
I
Yeah.
promise that I'm not gonna, do as probably most people are expecting me to do here. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not even gonna say it. But the ritual
Mhm.
for our commandery and the state commandery, are they the same or are they different?
Not much difference. They're actually almost identical, to be honest with you. There was just some small nuances. that we noticed. Myself and our grand lecturer was there, and we took mental notes. And I've seen that degree conferred a few times now, but there are just some small nuances. But for the most part, it tells the exact same story as our ritual.
Really interesting.
Yeah. So it gave, and it's an easier conversation because it does tell the same story and has this, pretty much the same vibe as our ritual. So when we talk to candidates and the new certain nights that they come through, we can have conversations and they can assimilate really easy because it's nothing different. When they get the ritual, it's not foreign to them. They're like, oh, okay, yeah,
Is this true across all of the York Rite houses?
it is.
The
Yeah,
ability to do work with the state lodge and also that they're similar enough that it should cause no complication?
it is, and we've done it. And it's so the York Rite it doesn't get enough. It doesn't get enough horsepower. It doesn't. And I can tell you that being at the General Grand Conference level now, being at the Grand Encampment level now, seeing things from that level, it does give me a different perspective on York Rite Masonry and even the Signal of the Truth, or just that podcast from the General Grand Conference. People are actually seeing like how much affluence the York Rite has in Masonry. Now, to your original question about 5, 10 minutes ago about Blue House degrees and what Trey is talking about, if we were to ascend to that level to break out like the King Solomon costume, like we went to a degree Friday, third degree, and the past master Right Worshipful Palmer actually had, and he's done it a million times, King Solomon's crown, and he acted out King Solomon. But to have the actual bridges and fake lakes and the costumes, it's a Broadway play,
Mhm.
right? But do we want to do it? Number one, because we don't want to do it. But if we did it, it would leave a lasting impression on the candidate, like it did Trey.
Why don't
And
we
that's
want?
why I don't know. I don't know. That's not. I wish I had the answer. But brothers just don't want to put that effort in because, like with California guys, and we've enacted in them. We've had parts in them before. We didn't this time. They just said they had everybody. They have degree teams, and their teams are together. They've been together for years, like years. And when I say that, in a Broadway play, there'll be spotlighting, right? There were spotlights on specific things. Like there's a pilgrimage where the Knights Templars were escorting the pilgrims through foreign lands, and they spotlighted the pilgrims when they came up to the hermits. You know what I mean? And then they did they did an ascent, and then they spotlighted the other hermit, and then spotlighted the third hermit, right? And then they spotlighted the altar, and then it gave it that pop, that visual, that neuroplasticity that just like, okay, this makes sense. This is a play. I'm watching it act out. So imagine if we did that in the Blue House and all of our houses acted it out, had a team that was committed to giving that story.
Right, right. Well, I understand that that's how they do their Scottish Rite degrees as well.
They do all of them like that.
Now they don't. I don't think they don't do their Blue House degrees in this way though.
They do for
I've
the
seen
most
Some
part,
of
yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do for the most part they do. They don't go as
Yeah.
hard or as all the way out like that with the costumes, but they do them. Definitely off of memory for sure. They do a lot of the theatrics.
I mean, I'm gonna make sure that I stand up for our Blue House lodges and the degree teams that put those degrees on. I've in my lodge we are very proficient, and I have to say that most of the lodges that I know well in our jurisdiction, they go all out. We don't necessarily do costumes like that, but the brothers are very proficient. They know the work. They're not reading.
Mhm.
They're doing the effort, putting in the effort to learn this. We just did a joint degree, a second degree with two other lodges last month, and it was stand up and stand out. It was outstanding, like really, truly, truly well done. So I don't want to give anybody the impression that we're saying that, our uh, counterparts do a better job of it, but it does sound like they do go out and, they
But
put everything
it's
into it.
it is a cultural awareness. Like their culture is to go show up and show out all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Their culture is to give the candidate something lasting. And we can say whatever we want to say, but I'm gonna tell you right now, we got to give our candidates something that's a lasting impression.
Yep.
Like you and I was talking before we went on the air, and we were saying how why should I go to this specific appendant body because there's no value added to me going to said body. And
Yeah.
I said, okay, you're right. You're absolutely right. But if you were to get that theatrical play and then you understood the integral parts, and then, oh, by the way, now this makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna show up.
Look, I don't disagree with that. I think that we need to, and I'm just speaking for ourselves because this is the jurisdiction that I'm in.
Mhm.
It's not just in the degree work that we need to make sure, and maybe more importantly, that we're giving that something more in the regular meetings,
Yeah.
whether it be in York, Blue, Consistory, it doesn't matter. It takes me an hour to drive from my house at least every time I head to a meeting. Every time. You know what I'm saying? And if I have to show up to just hear the minutes from the last meeting, I'm annoyed. And that's not
Mhm.
uncommon. You know what I'm saying? It's not uncommon. Or to see brothers not being proficient or not being really engaged or whatever. Like, I think it's important that we give information and knowledge. What's the point of going if you're just going to talk about your meeting, your minutes, study lodge.
But it's like isn't that the way that we've always done it? And I hate saying that, right, Trey? What do you think? Because you've been in a little while
Yeah,
now, but you've seen some of
Yeah.
that. Just say some of that.
yeah. I think it's important not to lose sight of, why it is that we have meetings. Um, it's more than just the minutes, and it's more than, if you're not getting something out of it by being amongst the brothers, then therein lies maybe a problem, right? Because I've been absent for quite some time, and I tell you, stepping back into a meeting, it was good to be amongst the brothers, and just that alone, and listening to the banter and whatnot, happening back and forth. It just quickly reminded me of that brotherhood, and how it's a pleasure to dwell amongst them, especially when we're on one accord, regardless if we're talking about 50 cents on catfish plates, or we're actually getting after a community problem or planning for the next thing. I think they're all beneficial, and it's like, well, what is it that we're seeking at each meeting? But I want to backtrack a little bit on what was said. And Aaron, I appreciate you covering down, so there's no misconceptions about what it is that we're talking about. But I'll say that it's not that anyone's better. It's different, right? And I think it's important for us to be able to learn from what's different, even inside our jurisdictions and our districts. Traveling to other lodges is very, very important. If you haven't done so, then you're missing out on a huge part of what this organization has to offer, and it speaks to that. And just imagine this, right? Imagine if you have a visitor at every one of your meetings, right? Well, that visitor is taking something from your lodge, and you're taking something from that individual, every time. And that's a part of this thing that we're talking about. So yeah, I think it's just that we're different, because I've been in a couple of their degrees, third degrees, and other degrees as well. I've been in a couple of ours, been in a couple of healings, a couple of matter of fact, Mason made on site. That was pretty neat to see as well. And it's every time you see this, you recognize the work and the effort that is put into it by any and all. Even if you get together and it's not what you expected, I'll call it that. Somebody still put a lot of time and effort into getting that thing together, and all those brothers who showed up there gave up the most valuable thing they have, which is their time
Yeah.
to be there, and that says a lot. You
Yeah.
know.
I'm gonna throw this in. Doc and I had a conversation a few days ago, and one of the reasons I wanted to not do Constitutional Corner today is because I've been getting a lot of questions
Hmm.
just from people who are aware of our podcast, right?
Yeah.
And I had a brother come up to me in person one day, and he's like, "Man, I've been watching you guys' podcast." He's like, "You guys say a lot of stuff that I think, and a lot of brothers I
Mm.
know think, but we're afraid to say it out loud." You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, well, that's wild." I said, first of all, please stop being afraid to say whatever you think out loud. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can't say what's true for you, then there's a greater problem. But also, I said, look, if you guys have questions, we would love to have you put them in the chat. And if it's not live, send us emails,
Yeah.
whatever your questions are, so that we can, especially if you can't come on live, we're not live, send them in advance so that we can have them and we can address them, right? Like
Yeah.
so I was hoping to have some of that, but in the spirit of that, I'm gonna go back a little bit and I'm gonna ask you, and then I'm gonna ask, well, I'm asking you both, but answer separately. I have an opinion, and I'll share my opinion after you guys share yours. But what is the point and purpose of the lodge meeting?
I'll let Trey start.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'll take the rookie up. Right. Uh, so to me, there's no single purpose of a lodge meeting, in my opinion. Obviously, you have the business side of it, obviously, which we know what that is, and we were talking about the Constitution, and we all know that there's normal business items and events that we get after in the community, which then rolls into community events and whatnot. So that's a purpose of coordinating for those things. Another purpose of that is the fellowship part of it, which we talked about that as well. I would say another purpose of that is the refinement of oneself, and what I mean by that is every time you get up and you make a motion, every time you get up and you bring something to the floor, it's a moment in time for you to work on yourself, work on your communication skills, work on your ability to understand your reason, your logic. It's a moment for you to work on yourself. And then lastly, I always think that every lodge meeting, whether it be from the beginning or the end of it, is a moment for you to reflect. It's a reflection moment and to be thankful, to have people in your life that you can depend on, people who care about you just a little bit more than most. So it's all of those things. So I don't think there's just one thing. And I'm like a weird thinker, right? I'm one of those brothers who thinks about those things. I think about, consciously where I spend my time, where I spend my energy, and if something is worth it. And I think that it's important. And if I didn't think like that, I would probably have the mindset of many others, is like, hey, why am I even here? Right? Like there's so many things to get out of a lodge meeting, than just showing up, right? Even putting yourself together, putting your suit on, like that means something, right? It's again a time for you to present yourself to others. It's practice. And what is that doing? You're constantly always refining yourself. Hence why you're outside of the lodge, why there's always something different about, brothers, most of us, right? To where you can say there that there's something about this person. He carries himself, he talks, differently. It's all of those things. And if you choose not to participate in it, you're just not improving yourself on on so many levels.
Yeah.
I'll hang it up there.
I think mine is just a little bit more refined. Trey kind of hit on all of the things, but having been around for a long time, the meaning, and actually I started a Q&A in the chat on YouTube. There's only a couple people watching right now anyway, but the biggest thing, and the reason for the Lodge meeting, in my opinion, is the business and programming of Lodge. Any organization that's together for whatever reason, whether that be business, fraternal, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, whatever, you have to have programming, and you have to meet and communicate, because communication and trust. And the way you build those two things up in any relationship is you have to actually do those things, right? Those are straight up verbs, right? You got to straight up do those things. Um, the fellowship is one thing, But then back to your original point, Aaron, to answer a question with a question is what makes you want to come back is you have to find that thing or those things that make brothers want to come back. Let's make sure that we're doing training, or let's make sure that we're um, having a meal afterwards, or let's make sure that we're just engaging with the brothers post meeting or pre meeting or during the meeting, whatever the case is. So it's just those simple things for me: business, programming, and fellowship. I think those are the simplest answers because it's different for everybody.
I think you're right. I think both of you guys are right. I just look for me, the lodge outside of masonry, I used to on a regular basis host salons,
Mhm.
right? Which were places where like-minded people would get together, usually around some kind of food or food and libation, and we would discuss pre uh, ordained topics, right? And everybody would bring something to that conversation. The lodge meeting for me is a salon, and it is a salon specific to the topic of masonry or the topics of masonry. And we, in our various types of meetings, do different things. Sometimes it's, rehearsals, sometimes it's business, but always in my lodge, it is conversational, it is conversant on some topic or set of topics inside of this craft, right? It gives us the opportunity to look, everybody doesn't see things the same way. Everybody doesn't see the things that seem to be fundamental the same way. And it gives an opportunity to have a conversation about those things, to debate, which I think is very important
Mhm.
about those things, and then to find common ground or consensus that makes it able for us to continue moving this ball forward, right? And
Mhm.
even understanding new perspectives and new voices and how this thing is evolving or will evolve based on that. I find the meeting to be hyper important for that. It's not that we can't have those conversations out of the meeting. This is obvious in this instance now, right? And even the communion with other brothers. Look, I am in association with, and I'm sure you all are. Brothers go to cigar lounges a lot and hang
Yeah.
out, and they get communion in that way, right? But the lodge meeting is special in that there is ceremony. You know what I mean? As Trey said, we're dressing for the event. It is a formal event
Yeah.
for us. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Um, that's true. I mean, but there's value. There's, I think and we've said it a few times, and I don't want people to think that we're just bad mouthing cigar lounges or whatever. No, no, no. It's just a reference. That's all. But there's value in it, and I say that there's value in going to said lounge or said park or wherever brothers hang out at. Just because the tighter you are outside the lodge, the more succinct you are inside the lodge.
Yeah.
That's natural because it's just like a team, right? Any sports team. The
So,
more that they practice together, the more they commune together, as you will, the tighter they are on the court, on the field, on the playing field, whatever that looks like. So there's value in both. But get I think the real thing is giving brothers a reason to want to come back. We've been going over this a few episodes now, right? Just kind of the same question. It's like a dog chasing its tail. Like how do we bring that back? What does that look like? And then to your point earlier, brothers being scared to speak their truth. But if we programmed the lodge inside the lodge and had a culture where brothers could speak their truth, I think that would make them want to come back. But then that's just my opinion.
man, you said something that's really interesting. Look, I think that brothers don't speak their truth because there's a culture that creates fear
Yeah,
around. Like if you're afraid to say what's true in a setting like this, there's a cultural challenge. There's something going on, right?
it is.
There's
It is.
something that you're afraid of. There's something that you're afraid of losing or getting punished in some way. And you're right. The lodge certainly should be a place where in which you encourage the brothers into the feeling of safety and
Mhm.
imperative around saying what's true, especially again in an organization like ours, such that if there is a cultural challenge, that that we're doing that in our subordinate lodges creates a groundswell, or at least a bubbling up of new culture,
Mhm.
of new culture. One that is opposing of whatever the problem is, and two, that is a solution to it.
Yeah.
So is your I take it this is your opinion that brothers are fearful of because of reprimand, whatever that reprimand may be, which is thereby creating a subculture within the lodge. Is that correct?
No, I was really more responding to the fact that this brother came up and said what he said, right? Like, that we're saying things on this podcast that he felt like might even be a little dangerous, right? Like we're edgy. I don't think we are that edgy, to be honest with you, but that
No.
he's that
Yeah.
I don't want to go so far as to say that there's some pervasive thing that in the lodges, like, that they're whispering in the corners.
Yeah.
But I do want to echo Doc and saying, if there are brothers out there that are listening to us, one, be encouraged, especially if we are edgy, right? And be willing and fearless to say whatever you think is true. Look, if whatever it is, if you feel like something's going on that's not right, or it doesn't matter. I think it's important to say it, right? Like, there could be some very conservative brothers out there that see stuff happening in masonry with younger brothers or younger lodges, and there are a few of them, right? And they feel like, oh, well, these guys are doing things that are not right, you know. But they don't want to say it because they don't want to be lambasted by these younger brothers, or this new current. Well, you should say it because there might be something valuable for us. Maybe some of those brothers are going too wide of the mark or whatever, right? But at the very least, we can have a conversation about it.
Yeah. I would also say that, some people have the ability to see things for what they are. And I think that a lot of it, and I think some of the questions coming out of Constitutional Corner alludes to this, and this is just my opinion of what I'm, you know, receiving from the feedback, is that they don't know what is acceptable, what is right, and it doesn't hinge upon them not wanting to. They just don't know. They just don't know, and they haven't taken the time to educate themselves on an organization that they're going to be a part of if they chose to be a part of. To say, well, what is it within my power to change? A lot of the past masters I talked to, they're like, yeah, hey man, you know what? Yeah, you got it. You're right about this once, this specific thing. Well, what are you going to do about it? And that's the next part. Like, you can have a complaint, but what are you as an individual going to do about it, right?
And you have
And
me
a lot of
fully
times,
right, but I want to
was
hear.
it?
You have me fully on the hook. I'm like all on edge of seat now. I
Yeah,
want to hear what they're. I want to hear what they're exactly saying. I would like to hear the feedback, and then before you say it, I want to answer this. One of the things we're trying to do with our constitutional corner is
hmm,
provide those answers, right? Like,
yeah,
it is black and white. It really is. It's on the
yeah,
page. What you can and cannot do is on the page. It's in the. If you have any question, get your Constitution out, read it. If you have a
yeah,
question beyond that, we got a guy who's on this podcast who is the guy in our jurisdiction who you should call and ask because he has an
yeah.
answer. It's his job, right? But he's going to read to you from the page. And then if you have a question or if you don't like it, what we keep saying, there's process.
Right.
Change. So what are they saying, Trey? What is the feedback?
So what I'm more speaking about is my observations, the things that I hear brothers talking about, whether it be why can't we change the color of our lodge colors, or why can't we you know um, uh, not have a meeting and do an education thing, right? Like, big different questions like that are, or I hear this a lot. Well, COVID killed masonry. Well, did it really? Because masonry was still happening when COVID was. It adapted to it, and if it was able to do that then, well, what's stopping it from doing it now? There's absolutely nothing that's stopping it from doing it. It's the people who care about it the most or that it's affecting the most, making a change further. In that same vein, it's like there's not at least from my lens, from my lens, there's not a common complaint box, right? Where everybody you can see all the complaints that are out there, and but if you could, I would venture to say you'll see a lot of the same things, right? And I think that those are the things that the organization can get after collectively. And I'm not even talking, I'm talking at the local lodge level. Those are the things that you can get after specifically. And I hope that was specific enough because I'm gonna leave it at that.
Listen, Doc, can I suggest that our inbox, our mailbox or our comment box can be our common complaint box?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hope
So
that
That's
what
the
is it? Trestleboardtalks@gmail.com, right?
Yep,
Trestleboardtalk@gmail.com.
Yeah,
yep.
we'll
Go to
give the
YouTube.
well, there's an email too. So Trey's gonna give the email here in a second. So people, if you got a comment, complaint, whatever, you know, go ahead and email us, and then we'll bring it up like Aaron was saying earlier. But let me say this, man. As now leading, being in the grand head position, I do see things through a different lens now. And when you guys are talking about complaints from your
You about to tell us
craft,
that you about to change?
no, no, I'm not. Oh, but hey, as a matter of fact, no, we'll talk offline on how I ran the meeting. But anyway, I digress because
Yeah,
it was a little tyrannish. But
yeah.
just you see things through a different lens, right? So when you start to look at okay, the complaints, air quotation fingers, you're not going to please everybody. So when you're programming, especially going into our first session, it was nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie, and I'm pretty sure I stressed all the officers out. But I want to make sure that we had our things in order and control what we can control. And then when we got there, it was like, okay, um, let's do it. Now we know why we're here. Let's just knock it out the park. And we heard a lot of complaints afterwards. I heard a lot of complaints. Why did Right Immigrant Commander do this? Why did Right Immigrant Commander do that? Or why didn't he do that? Because that's the way they're used to seeing it.
Mhm.
In every instance in history, has there not been a maverick that said, "Hey, I'm gonna break the cycle. I'm gonna break the
Yeah,
cycle." Like I started reading the High Five Habits by Mel Robbins, and she was talking about breaking the cycle, like how your parents says, "Well, I was raised like that, and look how it turned out."
yeah.
Well, but you never break the cycle. You just repeat the repetitive cycle.
Right, right.
So Mavericks, you just got to repeat. You got to break the cycle, and I think that's what we did. Well, I know for a fact that's what we did. We just broke the cycle. But I
Uh,
did see things differently. I didn't look at it from one level or another. I looked at it from a macro, not a micro perspective.
Yeah,
so,
and
Doc,
I would say sorry. I got to say this one thing, Eric. I got to correct myself. I wouldn't categorize these things as complaints. I wouldn't categorize them as that. They're suggestions or it's curiosity, right? As to somebody sees a
Hey,
way that things can
and,
be more efficient, right?
let me tell you this. Like the little boy on Instagram, a bullshit. Because that's what it is. It is a complaint, and
Like,
and 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 what it is we
I'm
know
about to
that
work out.
yeah, brothers are gonna complain. Everybody, right, has a complaint, but look at it through it. All I'm asking is look at it through a different lens. I just gave you a personal example of how I had to step
Yeah,
back and look at it through a different lens because it's easy to complain from the sideline. And I tell people all the time, and I told all the officers in the Grand Commandery, I don't care what you complain about. I really don't. I told the members during the meeting, I don't care what you complain about, but before you bring me a complaint, give me two solutions to what you're complaining about.
Mhm.
Everybody just kind of looked at me. But when doing that, if you're complaining about something, you come up with two solutions, you're probably not going to complain. But that's a mindset shift. So again, look at it through a different lens. But
there's complain, just struggle,
yeah,
complain, but be willing to struggle. Be willing to wrestle about whatever it is that makes you uncomfortable or you're uncertain about so that you can get comfortable and get certain. And so that in process, other people can as well. Doc,
Mhm.
how come brothers can't change the colors of their lodge?
They
I don't
can.
know. Question never came up. Colors of the lodge. That's probably not, that's not something that even remotely
Trey,
strikes me
you
as
say
coming
somebody
up to.
asked that question?
Yeah. I asked that question before I was educated. I'm
Why,
not putting any. I'm
why
not
can't
putting
they
anyone.
change the colors of their lodge?
Now
What's that?
are we talking about like, because I don't know any lodge that has specific color scheme. Are we talking about
If
the internal paintings or what are we talking about?
we're talking about the banner, the color of your banner,
Why
or the
can't
colors of your lodge. It's in our bylaws. That was a short answer for us, and there's a process for changing the bylaws. But
No.
through that discovery,
Let me stop you on the process of changing the bylaws. And let me interject before this goes off the beaten rails. Every year, when the new officers come in, you send your bylaws to the deputy grand master. And if you are pursuing the change in your bylaws with two-thirds vote for any amendment to your bylaws, then we're kind of going into constitutional stuff. But then you send it up to the deputy grand master and he approves it. But that's a lodge, internal lodge thing. If they agree on it, first they have to vote on it, and then they
right?
have to approve it as a majority. And then once the majority approves it, goes up to the deputy grand master for final signature. And the only way he's probably going to not sign it is if there's something grammatical or horribly wrong.
Blatant. So, but the answer then to the question is you can change the colors of your lodge so long as your lodge agrees, two-thirds of your lodge agrees, and you change it in your bylaws if it is part of your bylaws. Is that correct, Trey? Is that what you found?
correct, and that was a part of the process. But for me, for mine, and specifically because yes, I've been a part of a bylaws approval and revision process, so familiar with it now. But what I learned was that there was a little bit more history behind the colors and why we have the colors we have from some of the old members, and I was like, well, I didn't realize that and I didn't understand that. So I was like, well, that's something probably guys should know if they don't like it for whatever reason. And it's probably why they dealt with it because they know that it has a meaning specifically for the lodge. But yeah, definitely familiar with the process. It's just those little things, those little nuances as we do different things that we learn about as we go on. Starts as a little complaint. Well, I don't like these shirts. Let's everybody get the same shirt. Yada yada yada. Colors of the lodge. That's random how things come up. So just again, going back to the process of understanding what is it within the realm of possible and how that thing goes. And it's very easy to your point, Raul, but it's a very easy administrative process. But the actual physical process, it's not. And because you're dealing with people who have history with that particular color.
Well,
So you're not going to garner those votes necessary, which it becomes a question of, well, now my understanding of the thing is more important than the color.
Yeah, well, that's
yeah,
one of the reasons
I
it's
said
important
that.
to try,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, try. If you're uncertain about it, try it. That way you're going to
Yeah.
figure it out and you're going to educate in the process.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
And I
Just
think,
being a maverick about it, so to speak. I mean, yeah, I said that it's going to be two-thirds vote. I'm not saying it's going to be easy,
yeah,
two-thirds vote. You know what I mean? Like because there are some. That's the way we've always done it, and this means this because in 1968, Brother Jones, Past Master Jones, did this, and he was part of the Black Panther Party, and
yeah,
you know what I mean. And then so
yeah,
there's a sentimental attachment to
yeah,
the colors. It's not a constitutional or legal attachment. There's a sentimental
correct.
attachment. So you're trying to change the heart of and the sentiments of somebody that's set in their ways.
Yeah.
Doc, I got another question for you. I heard another question from Trey.
Hmm.
Can brothers not have a meeting and then have an educational meeting instead? Have a regular stated or whatever that meeting is. Can they have some lesser form of meeting instead of a lodge meeting? And just to give a little more nuance, what if they don't have a quorum or whatever? Can they have less than, and what does it take for them to do that?
Can I answer the first part of that?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So the first part of that, it depends on what your bylaws say, right? What do your bylaws say as far as how many times a year you will meet? That's the first thing. And then after the part 2B to that question, I'm not going to touch that. I'm gonna defer that one as
Okay,
far as quorum.
so the Constitution states that you have to meet, right? And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So Constitution on the York Right side does delineate where you only have to meet 6 times a year in certain independent
Mhm.
bodies. The Grand Lodge, you have to meet. You have to meet pretty much every month, right? It doesn't really say that specifically, but it doesn't not say that as well.
What does it
Uh,
say?
I can't think off the top of my head. It just talks about you meeting, and having to have meetings, and then it gives you a generic agenda so
Mhm.
that you meet. So that's something we'll
I
double
don't
back on
remember
the
it
con.
saying, I don't remember it being explicit about having, it says we have to meet, but it
Yeah.
doesn't say you have to meet once a month. It doesn't
No,
say
it doesn't. It doesn't
month
say that. No, no, no.
times.
It does not say that. No, it
Right.
doesn't. It doesn't break that down like that. That's what I said. There's an ambiguity there. So I guess to summate this a little bit is if we want to do education, it's probably not going to get approved, but that's why you put in the dispensation with the deputy grandmaster.
So that's the
Yeah,
answer. So if you need to do something different, then what you need to do is submit a dispensation or
yeah,
submit or dispensation so that you can get permission to change whatever it is that's in your submitted bylaws. Is
yeah.
that
Well,
correct?
to change your meeting date because the bylaws is a separate animal, right? We're if we want to change the bylaws, you can amend the bylaws at any time with
Yeah.
2/3 vote.
I don't mean
That's
your bylaws, but your bylaws are submitted to, they're submitted to the Grand Lodge, and
mhm,
then inside the Grand Lodge is now this is the rules of this particular subordinate lodge. And
right.
so this is the accepted, approved set of rules for this subordinate lodge. And so
Of
if
course.
you're going to meet every second Tuesday of the month, then you're supposed to. And if you can't or don't, then you, by the rules of our jurisdiction, must petition for a dispensation so that you can do something different.
So my counter question would be then why don't you as a collective lodge write your bylaws to say that on May or whatever, August, we're going to meet, whatever it looks like, that we're going to meet for education on this day and this time.
Or that we can meet for a regular stated meeting or an education meeting in the case that blah, blah, blah. So you can give yourself latitude so that you don't have to, go and
But
get dispensation.
let me be real with y'all. So a stated meeting, once you do the opening, the business, and the closing, which is really quick if you think about it, it
Yep.
doesn't have, you can actually open and close within a 30-minute span and
Yep.
use the rest of that time to do education.
1000%.
So, but again, who thinks about that stuff?
Well, you just did. And so hopefully you just gave a lot of brothers and that are listening
Yeah.
an education on latitude, on space.
You
All right.
open and close, you do the business, right? You got to read the minutes from the previous meeting, right? That's a given, right? And sometimes there may be extenuating circumstance. There may not be any minutes from the previous meeting because you had a substitute secretary. That happens too. Fine, right? This part of record for this meeting. Minutes weren't read, yada yada yada. But you get in where we waste our time because we waste time. We get in, we argue and we grandstand
Mhm.
in the meeting, and that takes up 2 to 3 to 4 hours
Yep.
just from grandstanding in the
Yep.
meeting.
Say what
Oh,
you want to
I
say.
got one thing. I got another thing, and I'm not even gonna get on. No, I'm not even gonna touch that. But the grandstanding in the meeting, grandstanding in the meeting. That's where it's killing us.
I have an
Shoot.
old past master in our lodge who his father was a past master when he became worshipful master. And it was
Mm,
apparently his father's pride and joy to interrupt his son at every opportunity. Get up and start talking, and he get all the other past masters. And so what this past master did as a solution is he created a rule. You get 2 minutes, and he had a timer. And when your
mm.
2 minutes is done, I'm gaveling you, and that's just it. And apparently
Okay.
it worked, right?
He,
But
he better than me,
um,
father or not, because I kick my dad's ass out the meeting. I'm telling you, Marshall escort him out.
I understand.
Yeah.
I have another question. This is another outside question. Guy came up to me. He says, "Listen, man, I'm looking at the state of the world today,
Mhm.
and I'm feeling unsafe. I'm feeling insecure. I don't know what's going on. I don't feel like we have leadership. I'm confused. And he said there was a point in time that you had Panthers and you had the nation and you had whatever, you had what felt like leadership.
Mm.
And in this moment, he said, man, I don't see that. He said, but I do see that there is an organization called Prince Hall Masons, these black men who are, he said, I don't know what you guys do. He said, but I've heard stories. So what are you guys doing in the face of this particular political moment, this storm, to provide anchor to our community? So that's a question that I'm gonna pose to you guys.
I'm gonna laugh for now. I'm gonna let Trey. I have a one response comment to it, and it may not be well received, but Trey, go ahead.
It's gonna be your comment.
It's
Yeah.
my comment and my opinion, but Trey, go ahead.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
So I'll be fed to the wolves first, so that they're full by the time you
Oh,
get to them. No,
I'll take the wolf.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
All right, go
I
ahead.
would say, and hopefully this gives you, this gives some time for you to
Same
reword
answer.
what it
Same
is.
answer. Same answer. Ain't gonna change.
Um, Hey, we're doing the same thing we always do, right? And we're doing the same thing we always do, which is take care of brothers, take care of our communities, to the extent, the greatest extent that we possibly can. That's within the length. I'll call it that. So we are doing those things. I think from a community perspective, is business as usual. What I mean by business as usual is, we're still providing services. We're still doing things for as many different families and organizations that we can do. Matter of fact, I'm actually going to speak this week at the Rotary Club down here about what it is that we do and what it is that we're continuing to do for our community. So for us is business as usual, and I say that almost nonchalantly, because it's important. It's important because I think that we are what we do. It doesn't matter the temperament of the political landscape, right? What it is what we do is what we do. Who we are is who we are. And it'd be no different if the political landscape was different, but someone else was in a particular circumstances that needed help. So business as usual. That's what we do. We're here to help, hope, faith, and charity. Right. That's what we do. So nothing has changed. Now, if he's looking, that brother is looking for, that type of atmosphere of, the Black Panthers and the Houyas and all that. I'll tell him straight up, this ain't it. This is not that type of organization, and don't get it misconstrued, because that's not what this organization is about, nor the majority of these brothers, these men are about. We're about the community. We're about society, building society. That's what we do. We're not here to destroy. We're here to build. So I'll leave it at that.
You just opened up so many landmines. I heard you say that the Black Panthers were there to destroy. I'm not going to touch it past that.
No, no, but
Let
when
me
you,
I'm gonna let you live in that hole.
let me
yeah,
jump in. He can live in that foxhole for a minute.
I'm
So
gonna
yeah,
let you live in that.
let me back up. So he used the Black Panthers. Whoever this young man is,
yeah.
or
He
guy
was,
that's used the
he was
Black
actually
Panthers.
an older black man that asked the question.
So and that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So he used it in reference to the 60s. So
Hmm.
let's just take it in the 60s, right? Let's talk about that time frame. In the 60s, both the Black Panther Party, uh, the Nation of Islam, and Freemasonry were very strong.
Very
They were organized.
right.
Okay, so understand that word organized.
Hmm.
And they programmed it to where they had a community presence.
Yep.
Now, when your question, if we're talking specifically in this state, are we talking all of Prince Hall? We don't we it's hard to say because I know that other brothers in southern states that are Prince Hall Masons that are very active in the community in the NAACP, and they're very active, beating down and actually doing political stuff. A couple brothers come to my mind right away, and one's an alpha, very good dude. So, um, and he's a brother too, a Mason. So if we look at it from our lens in our backyard, we're not organized yet.
That's not one word, by the way, Doc.
Well, I'm just saying we're not organized yet. But he gave me time to think about it because what I was gonna say probably wouldn't have been well received. And
Well,
Yeah.
say, I hear what you're gonna say.
hey, no, hey,
It's
listen,
gone now.
you ain't gonna, no, it's still there. You ain't gonna catch me on take stealing boxes.
I want to hear it.
Um, let me think about this for a second. Here we go. All right. So my original thought, without fail, as soon as you ask a question, we're not organized. We're doing nothing.
That's right.
That's my original thought, right? It was very simple. We're not organized. We're not doing anything, and that's a true statement.
But see, your question, your answer, and Trey's answer are different. Trey's
Mhm.
answer is we're not supposed to. Your answer is we should, but we're not
We're
because
not.
we're organized.
We're not organized, and we're not doing anything. But I can't say that that's 100% true, but I can say it's about 90% true.
Look, what I said to him was this. I said, Freemasonry, according to its tenets, is non-political. It is apolitical. And it is
Yeah,
also supposed to be non-religious.
of course.
So considering the answer to the second part, it just sends you back to the first part. The truth of the matter is the lodges are made up and the organization is made up of the men that make it up, right?
Yeah, but aren't the lines blurred though?
They
When you
are.
got religious leaders that are Masons, and so the line gets blurred,
That's
right?
exactly right. Look,
Yeah.
the nation, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of the guys that went out to form the nation came out of Masonry, right?
Yeah,
So
of course.
there's a lot to talk about when you hear stuff like that, right? And when you understand that history.
Mm.
I personally believe that, especially in this climate, and this is what I said to him, that we as Masons stand out, are supposed to be able to stand out as leaders. Yes, we work in the community, but what does that mean if the community is being attacked? Are we just handing out lunches, or are we trying to create some sense of protection or some sense of calm or whatever that is? I personally believe that we should be doing that. I don't think that we're doing enough, but I also know that we are made up of a ton of very active men who individually and in their own private ways are doing their own work. I would love to see us collectively as an organization give answer to some of the stuff that's going on, because there are people who are confused and there are people who are scared and they're seeing stuff happen. We're seeing people in our neighborhoods with families being ripped out of cars and stores and courthouse, steps. And to be honest with you, a lot of people were thinking about this as an us versus them problem, because they're like, this is happening to Spanish people or Latin people. This is happening to Black people, right? This is happening to everybody. This is a problem that is affecting all of us. And it does get into the danger of the political conversation. I know personally brothers in our organization that are Trump supporters, that voted for Donald Trump and are supporting a lot of these actions. I know some that voted for him and now wish they hadn't also, right? But even the way it's coming out of my mouth tells you that I'm leaning in a certain way. It is a political conversation, and maybe a dangerously political conversation. But if majority of the brothers in our organization lean one way, then we should be putting our shoulders together to give voice to our concerns and the concerns of the people that I think share our concerns.
Here's what I'll say about that. Here's what I'll say to that. Because I hear you. I hear you. And I understand the desire to mobilize and not necessarily mobilize, to impact. I'll put it that way in the political landscape. Given the current state of masonry, if we are to do that, I'm telling you right now, you're going to lose people. point blank period, right? Because you said it in how you said it, is that not everybody shares those sentiments, and to what degree, it's all across this spectrum, right? I think that the one thing that is true is that we are apolitical, but we are here for the community to a degree, and we're here to support and build society, right? So I think it's dangerous to think that way, not necessarily think that way, to for us to go in that direction. That's what I think.
You would
Almost to
stay,
the
you would
point
stay
where
neutral?
what's that?
You would stay neutral?
Oh, yes. I think I think that
But yeah, yeah,
from an
but
organizational perspective, yes.
yeah,
From my own personal, what I do with my time and my efforts is what I do with my time and my efforts. Again, there's, right place, right time. There's organizations for that, and to shift an organization that is non-traditionally not that, then I think speaks volume. And then again, you said it just earlier, where the nation derived a lot of its membership from Masons. Okay, that's another organization. I don't think that Masonry is that organization that does that thing, because I think that it's a bridge. It's a bridge that allows for discord across many different areas, aspects of life. I'll call it that, and groups of people. And I think to take that organization and to pretty much isolate it, because that's what it would be doing, is a dangerous concept to desire.
I think that's a really fair perspective. What you're noticing me doing right now, Trey, if you haven't figured this out, is this is me not so subtly pulling out the Trestleboard talk boxing gloves and putting a set on you and a set on Doc and
mm,
seeing you guys go toe to toe, because I know that you have some differing perspectives on this, and I
no, we
think it's
do,
good for
we
us to
do.
have that.
Yeah,
We do. So
yeah,
my take on that, what Trey is saying is he'll stay neutral, and that's fine. But when we look at, and he said something important, that we will lose brothers. Now, as I was going through, and welcome the two of the few listeners that jumped on. But as I was going through a few months ago, and I was having this struggle about trying to get some things right with proficiency, I did have a talk with the Grandmaster, and he gave me some crazy important advice, and it was profound, which is it was just weird and how it happened. But he was just like, "Listen, I see what you want to do with the proficiency." He said, "But think about it like this: not everybody joined Masonry to be proficient."
Mhm.
uh-huh.
And I had to take a step. I literally took a physical step back because it caught me off guard. And so, to Trey's point, not everybody joined Masonry to talk religion or politics. Although the religious stuff is inculcated in it, but the political stuff, no, not so much. I'm kind of with him in staying neutral, or I shut it down in the lodge and say, if we're going to have a political conversation, we have a political conversation. And understand this, that political conversation is just my views.
Yeah. Look, I stand in a really interesting place with this. Um, and this might come down to more of a conversation about definition. What
Well,
is
and let me address the chat. We got past master Dunlap in the chat. He's saying that getting community out to vote, but that's an action. That's a
it's a political action?
perfunctory. Yeah, it is a political
It
action,
doesn't have to
and
be, because you could go out and broadly, generally go out and ask people to vote without telling them who or what side
Yeah,
they're
or you can set up voter booths, right? And I think matter of
on.
fact,
100%.
yeah, you
But
can set up voter booths.
I just want to say this. Look, what is masonry is a question, right? I'm not asking us to answer that. I'm saying it is a question. And what is its point and purpose? I'm not asking us to answer that. It's a question I'd like to hang out there, right? For me, even when you talk about the proficiency, right? No, not
Mhm.
everybody joined masonry to be proficiency, but be proficient. But if masonry is a requirement, if proficiency is a requirement of masonry, then those people that join masonry not to be proficient may have joined the wrong organization. And
I'll say I agree. I agree, but let me respectfully interject. And my wife has to always remind me of this.
yeah,
I have a certain energy and passion for masonry,
yeah,
right? In writing books and as well, you've written a couple books recently,
yeah.
Trey's passion. But she always tells me, not everybody is like you.
I agree. I understand. I 100% agree. And still, it doesn't change my sentiment,
Yeah.
right? I can be in the argument. I can be in the debate
Hmm.
as to whether I'm right or not. It's whether masonry requires proficiency.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if it does, if masonry should have a velvet rope that says, in order to come past here, you have to have these things. If it
Would
doesn't have
would
that, then
would
I'm wrong and it's for everybody, right? But if it
oh,
is an exclusive
mhm.
organization that requires certain things, including proficiency, and you can't be proficiency, then you need to go join the plumbers, union or what. I'm sorry, let me not say that like plumbers aren't proficient. I take that back. Any plumbers listening, but I'm just saying like maybe there's an organization that has a lower standard.
No, I think the standard is a standard. I think we do have those entry points or those qualifications that you have to meet, and this isn't one of them, right? Because if it was, then we would it would be a landmark. It would be one of those things. So I
I,
think we're I think we're making it to be what it is that we want to be. And I think a couple episodes ago we talked about one specific thing, and we all had different interpretations of what we thought it might be pertaining to the Constitution. This is a
Hmm.
very similar, conversation in that, I believe it. I believe it is there, and I believe that not everyone has the abilities to be as proficient as others. I'll put it that way, and that's just a fact of the matter. And I think that level of scrutiny that we're looking for that should be garnered on, my opinion,
right.
leadership within an organization, right? It's not every, it shouldn't be levied on everyone, right? Although that's the thing we should desire for them to aspire to be.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be levied on everyone.
I'm gonna
And I think that this is masonry. What we're talking here. Look, we got three different perspectives on
Yep.
here, and I think that these are the type of conversations that I always enjoy because it's like, where else do we have a forum to have these conversations, dissenting views, but have it in a manner that makes sense, in a manner that is respectful, and put
amongst
some critical thought behind some things.
look, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm going to take your point. You said something that I think is really important. Masonry is defined by the landmarks, right? And
Hmm.
one of the things that the landmarks don't say is that Masons should stand out against tyranny. In fact, guess what? It actually says something different and almost opposite that.
Yeah. I mean, let me give you a different perspective because we're talking about Mason being proficiency this and proficiency that, and I think in the chat there was EAFC and Master Mason proficiency. Yes, it's listed in the Constitution what those things should be. Some of it's a little vague, and we wanted to streamline that, but it's coming. Um, but what if a good brother, great heart, great brother, was neurodivergent? And to
Mm,
Trey's point, because I have a child that's neurodivergent, and if he wanted to become a Mason, he's 22 years old. Would it, in some lodge crapped on him, for better lack of terms,
Yeah,
because he had trouble learning the obligation. Is that fair? As a matter of fact, that opens the organization up to a lawsuit because of the ADA Act.
mm.
exactly.
So again, we have to be careful in how we're asking questions, or I guess for trying to force ourselves or our wants and desires on other people. And we have to there is a world where people are neurodivergent and have dyslexia and different types of learning disabilities. And they may just want to be a Mason to be part of something
That's right.
because it makes them feel better. Now, yes, should we set the standard? And one word you said about 30 minutes ago, culture. Set a culture. This is the culture of this organization. if you want to be a part of this culture, but you have to understand within that culture, there has to be some flexibility.
Absolutely right. And I think we have it though. I do think that we have that, right? Like I could argue that we might have too much of it, right?
Yeah.
Too
Personal
much flexibility.
My personal perspective is that in this moment we have a lot of flexibility, that we are not as stringent to the idea of exclusivity as I personally would like. This is just me, right? I this isn't to neurodivergence, right? I personally know a lot of, I don't know a lot of, but I know people who are neurodivergent and smarter than the average cat.
Of course.
You
But
know what I mean?
there's certain academic things that they can't comprehend.
Right, but that doesn't mean that they don't, for instance,
No.
I could teach the obligation or the ritual to a person who is quote unquote neurodivergent, and they may not be able to regurgitate those words, but they can understand them and understand all of the qualities and values in them and could tell you what those are. They can demonstrate those in their actions, and that for me would qualify them as proficient.
Proficient. And I said that before, and I've gotten blowback saying, so they were saying, well, Brother Randall said that, you can read out of the ritual. No, I never said that.
That's not the
That's
same.
not what I said. What I said is if a brother can explain the ritual to me, then he is proficient.
You
And
can walk the ritual, and I could see you walking the ritual, man. I'm gonna give
he's
it.
proficient. Now, if a brother just, so on the flip side of that, what if a brother does have a great memory and just memorize a bunch of words, i.e., parrot, right? Just memorize a bunch of words in the ritual and then recite them to me. And then I ask a question because I really want to know. I'm not challenging the brother. I just say, well, what does that mean? And he can't tell me what that means. He loses credibility, and so does the organization.
You don't have a mechanism to call him not proficient, however, with that.
It's subjective. There's no objectivity to it, and that's the problem. I mean, you and I talked about that. That's the only reason we did, and I did what I did is because we wanted to add a more objective approach to it to streamline how we look at it. But again, to my original point is, I want to hear brother tell me what that means.
Yep.
Because not all brothers. First of all, what we fail to realize in program in Freemasonry is that public speaking is a real fear, it's an anxiety. It is an anxiety, and people have that anxiety. And have we even taken that in consideration when we're talking about that? We don't. We're saying, okay, you want to be a Freemason, here's the culture. But oh, by the way, you got to get up in front of 50, 60, 70 people, 200, 300, 400 people. And if you have an anxiety or phobia, that's a mental anxiety. Like that is a phobia. We're not just talking about dyslexia, that's a phobia. And so are we taking that in consideration? We say that we don't have this or we're not doing that, but we're not taking things in consideration before we make those comments, is the point I'm trying to make.
Listen, I'm curious about beyond proficiency. Back to this other comment. Look, masonry is a thing. And it is not just a simple thing of brothers getting together and having business meetings. It's not just a simple thing of brothers rehearsing, ritual. The ritual of masonry is dense, it is complex, it is multi-dimensional and layered. And it does, by the way, speak to some of these issues. And I would be curious for us to talk about that, but also for other people listening, if they have access to it, to research it, right? Like our ritual, all the 3 degrees in the Blue House, the degrees on the York side, and the degrees on the Scottish Rite side. And they do build, and every house has a different layer of stuff that talks about how we can be and should be, ought to be, as people, as human beings, in the face of great challenge and change and fear and upset, how we are to stand up for ourselves and for our neighbors, how we are supposed to be as men and women. And I'm curious. I'm standing in curiosity for the person who asked this question of me about what Masons are supposed to be doing, specifically Prince Hall Masons, how we're supposed to be responding to this, or if we should be, or if we have a role or responsibility. And I guess I'm asking you guys to avoid getting in trouble, neutral, get that. To honor everybody's different perspectives, get that. But what does the ritual say as to how we should be, and speaking to what is masonry and what we as Masons should be getting out of it? Why are we here? And what can non-Masons be understanding about why we are here as Masons and what the value and content of this is based on what this says, how we should be in this moment?
Well, the ritual specifically is intended to, it is a third person perspective, but a first person introspective. It is to how do you build and utilize working tools and different aspects to improve your life.
Yeah.
To
And
your
the lives of.
and the lives and the brothers therein. But now to your question about, I guess if I'm understanding you correctly, how do you approach the question what Masons should be doing? That's a dense conversation, and it doesn't have a right or wrong answer, because there's no, what we're supposed to be doing is bettering ourselves as men, right? That is the number one thing, is how, that's the first thing, because you have to take a self introspective look first, because if you aren't whole, you can't make somebody else whole.
True.
So you have to build. We're into building good men, and then somebody will retort and say, "Well, a good man would do this," but that's an opinion. That's not a fact.
More than that, though. More than that. Consider the degrees. Let's think about the Scottish Rite degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Consider the degrees in the Scottish Rite and what they are as you go through them and what they instruct us.
Okay.
There's instruction about this. There's instruction about this, right?
Okay.
What are we to do? How are we to be? Who are we to protect? How are we to protect them? In what circumstances? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be specific because we can't, right?
Yeah,
but what I do want to say is there is instruction inside of the ritual building of men in Masonry through degrees as to how we can and ought to be responsive in challenging, arguably dangerous moments.
In the Scottish Rite, yes. But
I'm talking Masonry.
Masonry in general, but the Scottish Rite gets more into that programming and those specific words that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Whereas symbolic lodge Masonry does not. But the Scottish Rite absolutely does, especially a lot of perfection.
1000%.
But again, I don't. It's how do we do it, and what does that look like? Again, it's our Blue House symbolic lodge. Only speaking about the symbolic lodge is an introspective thought on how do we become better, and more specifically, how do we rebuild or build our spiritual and ornamental edifices, our own individual temples.
How do you build
1,000? Looks different for everybody.
1,000. I don't want to limit us to that, because we're not limited to that, right? We're not, and Masonry is certainly not limited to just those 3 degrees. Arguably, those 3 degrees give you a base upon which to build that temple on. Right?
Yes and no. Yes and no. It gives you a false foundation. Matter of fact, they even go as far as giving you false. No, they just giving you falsities. And even at the 3rd degree raising, there's a falsity that's given.
I understand that, and you understand that.
And so
what you're saying is Masonry doesn't even happen until you get into
other appended bodies to understand what just happened. Because even if you don't want to be some supernova Mason and be in all these different houses, if you do, and you do want to understand, you have to ascend to the other side of Masonry to understand. Because like Lawrence Harris always asks, well, where did the fellow crafts get their working tools?
Right.
And then everybody's like, huh?
Right.
Okay. Well, before we came on air, I asked you and we talked about it. Where was the Master Mason's degree conferred? Huh?
Right. They don't know.
What's the sanctum sanctoria, the holy of holies? Huh?
Mm.
You know,
Focus
what
cigar.
is it? Yeah, what is the nine arches and apartments? Huh?
Mm.
I may go smoke a cigar tonight.
Oh, it's all good. We're gonna wrap up here
No,
shortly.
no, I'm
Yeah.
saying I might go do that. And I'm going to run
Okay.
into probably some cigar smoking Masons, right? And there
Mhm.
are Masons that look, man, they're social Masons, and that is not a slight.
That is
That,
who they are at their core.
that's what and not just that, but there's a
Yeah.
great deal of value in that for them.
Yeah.
Right? I think you guys have heard me say this before. I think Masonry is a pyramid. The widest part of it is the base, and that's where most of the people are. And
Hmm.
they know what they know about the ritual. They really don't know it. They don't really understand it. They'll argue about it, they'll debate it, but they don't really know it. And they're gonna hang out and they're gonna socialize, and it's fantastic. And then you have the middle level where you have people who are really more curious, a little more interested in knowing a little bit more, right? And they put a little bit more effort into it. And then you have that little teeny tiny room on the top. It was really small on purpose. One,
One percenters.
you can't fit that many people in it, and not
Hmm.
that many people want to be in it in the first place. The truth of the matter is most of the stuff that's really at the top, most people don't want it. They don't want it because it will force you to challenge all of the things that you believe or thought you believed until you got there,
Hmm.
right? And it will force you to do something that most people ultimately are not super comfortable with. And that is change. That is
All right.
evolve.
Yeah.
You cannot be the same person once you are in that small room. You cannot. It is impossible.
Yeah. Change and consistency are juxtaposition to each other. But the hardest thing in life is to change, right? But you also have to change your attitude in change. Because, and that sounds easy and very cliche, but it's not. Like in order for you to change, let's say I have to adapt to this, I have to want to do it, and then I have to see the value in it. And all those three things have to happen concurrently.
Yeah, it's true. But all that I'm saying is if you are, the ritual is very informative. I have found.
Yeah.
And if you are dedicated to the study of the ritual truth and all of the houses, you will come to a singular conclusion. One, you must be better than you are.
Hmm.
You must vibrationally become a whole new, brand new entity.
Hmm.
And you will have to stand up in the face of danger and challenge and discomfort.
Right. Right. But you do
It
it does talk about being selfless too, going out, for your brothers and extending yourself and going to the highest pinnacle and this and this and that and caring for the widows and orphans. And there's a plethora of things that says you have to be selfless. And I tell people in leadership, you have to be selfless, not selfish.
right.
And I also say that we say this is a team effort. And some smart ass will say that there's a me in team. I said, no, the E is before the M. Everybody before me.
Listen, it is, you are at the top. I will always say this, the
Hmm.
head servant.
Yeah.
You're the big butler.
Yeah. But
I have two questions. I'm sorry.
selfless. No, you
Mm.
good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have, well, I'll call it one question, two part, but I want to make a comment before getting there. Going to Aaron's point of kind of what we were talking about. I think it's, again, I want to caution us about, you know, putting out, telling brothers, hey, refer, you can find it in this book. You can find the answer in this book. Although, it might be apparent to you, right? Or some, it's not apparent to all. And we all interpret this thing differently. So I do want to put that caution out there to say before you take something and say, well, it says this and that. No, read the whole thing, understand it in its entirety before you make assumptions that someone's telling you you should go and do X, Y, and Z, or
Read
so
the
forth,
whole
so on.
thing, get the
Yeah,
degree, but also because you can read it and not understand it. That's one of the reasons it's
correct.
widely available because you can read it and not understand it. You absolutely must go through the process. And
Yeah.
it's just go through it. You must grow through the process, right? Like
Yeah.
this is seed planting,
Yeah.
covering with dirt, and then watering and being patient and nurturing it and giving it sunlight, all the things you have to do. It's not instantaneous, but it is there. And also, it's not all in the ritual. A lot of what's in the ritual are signposts
Mhm.
that point you
Yeah.
in the direction of other things that you need to then go and find so that you can put the puzzle together and really understand it. There's a Rosetta
Yeah.
Stone there.
Yeah. I just wanted to put that caveat out there. The other real question I have for you gentlemen is, what are you excited about in masonry?
Ooh.
I'll take that one first.
Hmm.
I'm excited about the change. I'm always excited about the leadership and the future of leadership because I have a different vantage point and seeing things from this vantage point, I'm starting to see things behind the curtains, behind the scenes, as they say, and I'm excited about the potential where we could go, just our potential.
Hmm.
I really think, and I believe this wholeheartedly, all jokes aside, that we have uber potential to reprogram masonry. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I am likewise excited about that, but problem this could have something to do with the fact that Doc, you've been here a lot longer than I have.
Mhm.
Um, I am continually excited by the new levels that this thing takes me personally to,
Okay.
and the forced introspection and the growth that the dedication to its study has consistently and constantly bloomed inside of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So part B to that question, I intentionally did it this way for a reason. What are you doing to perpetuate that or continue that thing that you're excited about within your respective lodge and in the craft?
What we're doing right now,
Yeah.
one thing.
Mm.
Talking to
Yeah,
you, right? Talking to you.
right. Yeah, that's the one thing is doing this right here. Uh, just like in Exodus, right? The book of Ephesians, 6:54, just putting on the armor and just going to work.
Hmm.
Literally, just going to work. Like we can talk about a whole bunch of crap and say we're doing this and we're doing that, but actions speak, as they say, way louder than words. Right
Yeah.
here, right? When we got these viewers on and we go back and we see the 268 subscribers, or we see the 30 or 40 videos we already got on YouTube, that's where the rubber meets the road for me.
Doc, I have to jump. I had to jump. And I'm personally content to let it go there. What you said, I thought was fantastic.
Hmm.
I just would leave this, those people listening, please, please, please fill up our box with your thoughts, ideas, complaints, suggestions,
Everything,
whatever you
all
want
that.
to call it.
Yeah. Let me give you an email to that point or to that end. So it's Trestleboard talk singular. So Trestleboard talk@gmail.com. Again, that's Trestleboard talk, one word, @gmail.com. Yeah, send all of that, man. Likes, dislikes, right? You all have an opinion and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
If we'll give voice to the voiceless. Period.
I will log back in at a later date and watch the end of this. But Trey, as usual, your calm and consistent character, man.
Same, brother.
Always a
Appreciate it.
pleasure. Always a pleasure. And Doc, I'm just gonna say it to you so the other people can hear me say it. I'm inspired every time I talk to you. And
Yep.
this that we're doing, I'm very proud of it. And I'm happy that you guys would allow me to be in your company here.
All good, man.
Appreciate having you.
Until next time, viewers and Trey and everybody, man,
Yep.
we're
Yep.
excited. We appreciate you listening and listen soon.
All
Listen
right,
soon.
all right, brothers. I'm logging off.
All right.
All right now.
All right.
All right. Here.